So now I'm gonna hit record. Try to figure out why Ben wanted someone to say Kung Pao penis. I don't know. Why not, I guess?
Do you need us to say that?
I thought he was asking for one, so once Chewie said it, I thought it was good.
What to
Yeah,
say,
but
Kung Pao
everybody
penis?
was talking all over each other except for you. So I was like, Mike, get in on this. And then you did, and it was glorious. Ow. Kung Pao. What? Ow. Oh, hi, Ted.
I was just gonna start saying the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody, but nobody else picked up on it. So
I mean, I do see a little silhouette of a man.
Scaramouche.
Oh, Scaramouche.
I don't know who Scaramouche
Will you do the
is.
fandango?
Who is Scaramouche?
Scaramouche?
No. Scaramouche is a stock clown character of the 16th century commedia dell'arte. Oh, Italian literature. Okay, or Italian.
I'm sorry. You chlamydia?
What? Commedia.
Commedia. Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, those are very different things.
Not as different as you might think. Okay, anyway, that's good enough. Let's start the show. Here we go. Ow, jam. Hello everyone and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 728 of the Mana Pool, and I am not absent, as you can tell.
Woot woot.
I'm Chewy. Hello. There's other dorks here too.
Hello, Chewie. I'm Brian.
Hi, Brian.
All right, keep it moving. We got a lot to do tonight.
Okay, I
I'm
didn't know.
Brian.
If
I'm the lead rambler,
something
tangent master of the group. I talk a lot. And I was actually trying not to talk over Mike, and it failed horribly.
The one time
First
Mike
you
just
stopped.
jumped right in, it was the one time you were counting on him not.
It's true. I was like, I'm gonna be respectful. Well,
I was waiting patiently for you to finish saying whatever you had in mind to say, but it just didn't happen.
no. We learned
I'm
our
Mike.
lesson.
Yeah, I'm Mike, and I have overly high expectations, I guess. I don't know.
Accurate.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greatest man alive and moral comes to the group. And I just go with the flow because sometimes swimming against the river's force just ends up drowning you.
That was vaguely depressing.
I thought it was poetic.
I was just kind of like my mind. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know where to go from there.
So this week, Brian pitched an idea that I don't think worked. We'll have to think on that some more, or discuss that later. Then he pitched two more ideas, both of which sounded fine. I asked the other dorks, what do you guys think? Got nothing for 24 hours, and then still got nothing at all the next 24 hours. So we're going to do listener suggested topics.
There were reasons.
I didn't say there were no reasons.
I just didn't want to
Reasons-
make it sound like we were like completely useless and uncaring, just like mostly useless and uncaring.
Yeah, they're completely useless and uncaring as usual. So we turned to the Manapool Discord, which, by the way, if you're not in it, you should get in it because we have fun there. It's very friendly. Unless you're some sort of transphobe or homophobe or piece of crap, in which case you are not welcome. It came up a few days, a week, a month, I don't know, sometime relatively recently. A couple of people were like, I really like the nice friendly community that you've got here. I was like, yeah, and I got to thinking about it, and I said, I think I've only banned one person that wasn't a bot.
Huh.
And I think that was just because Well, I don't think I know. That was just because they were a raging transphobe. They weren't a raging transphobe in the Discord, but when I got wind of them being a raging transphobe on Twitter, I was like, oh, well, you're not allowed in my Discord anymore. Oh, and I booted him. Screw that guy. Hope he steps on Legos forever. But yeah, we've got a good audience, so we've got a good, Discord community. All of the weirdos and people who ended up being horrible people, back in the day, they would sort of say things in, like, you remember the forums? They would sort of say things in the forums that would make me go, And then, yeah, I would see, this was back in the day when I was, accepting friend requests from everybody on Facebook. I would see them post something that was just not cool. Like, Jesus, dude. And yeah, those people aren't allowed here anymore. Yeah, and Ben just said in the chat, you got to cultivate your audience, and being extremely loud about your beliefs is a great way to cultivate your audience. Yeah, those people don't listen to us anymore because we're like filthy liberal cucks or whatever they call us these days. I don't know.
Whatever.
We don't hate brown people or gay people, so we're the worst. I hope everybody had a good Pride, by the way. It's over now, but
Yes.
The month
is
over a
over,
long time ago.
I still have the rain. Do what?
At least 6 months.
What?
As that was over like 6 months ago, unfortunately.
Pride ended.
No, Pride Month. Pride Month was June.
Pride is in June there, Dirk.
How long have you been out?
Meaning something else.
Yeah, I see what you did there. I think he was discussing pride in the way our country's headed. At least that's how I'm going to take it.
Oh, that's exactly how you should take it.
But anyway. So yeah, you should totally join the Discord. The link is either on themanapool.com, which is a link tree, or it's down in the show notes or description or whatever. But
Yep.
Yeah, so we turned to the Discord, and I was like, hey, I'm going to make a list of show ideas, that whenever anyone comes up with one. Do you guys have any? And we got a bunch, but most of them weren't like show ideas. They were just, hey, here's a question, answer it. And I was like, I mean, that works too. We can do multiples of those. So that's what we're going to do. And the dorks didn't want to know what they were. So I'm just going to pick one, and we're going to go off on it. So how about... This is from Chifuji. He says, what's one piece of media that I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but I wrote it, what's one piece of media that you return to the most? Like movie that you want to watch all the time, or a book that you reread, or whatever. So
that's a good question.
Since I've seen these already, I've already got a few vague ideas. For movie, I think I talked about this on a recent episode. Or it might not have been recent, I don't know. When we were talking about like things that we're really into that we don't talk about much or something.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the Ocean's movies. Like, they flit around on and off of streaming services, and whenever I catch all three of them on a streaming service, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch these, because I just love them so much. For also like the Lord of the Rings movies, sometimes I'll just be like, you know what, it's time to spend the next 3 nights watching movies to make me happy and sad.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. As for things to read, basically all of the comics I have are things that I return to. Like, I'll periodically decide, you know what, it's time to read through the Fables again, or the Infinity Gauntlet and all the stuff that goes along with it, or Crisis on Infinite Earths. At the moment, I'm actually rereading Astro City.
Did you see
Did I
Sorry,
see?
go ahead. No, I have a question for you, but I want you to finish your thought first.
Oh, okay.
And I'm being rude.
So, it was roughly 2 years ago because Renee and I just had our 2 year anniversary, and so I know it was not long after we started dating. I took her to the dentist because one side of her face was all swole up and it was really funny looking, and I was sitting in the waiting room reading Astro City, but so I made a big deal about like trying to collect all of these a few years ago, and I was missing one, and I finally ended up just ordering it from online somewhere for way too much money, just because it was the only one I was missing, and this is like my favorite piece of superhero writing ever, and I wanted them all. But I got up to this book right here, actually, book 13, Honor Guard. Honor Guard is sort of the Astro City, like, Avengers, let's say, or Justice League. And it was still sealed, because when I got up to this point last time, I was like, do I really want to open these? Like, 15 is the one that was very expensive that's still sealed, but a bunch of these I hadn't opened yet, and I was like, I wonder if I could sell these for like a higher price and find a used one or something. And it turns out that takes effort, and I'm not going to do that. So I finally opened this one. So I'm going to actually read through the entirety of Astro City this time. But Kurt Busiek is such an amazing writer, because Astro City, it's like, you know, Metropolis or New York. It's a city that's just loaded with superheroes, but it's not normal superhero stories. Like he takes it and he turns it. Like he always writes from a completely different point of view. Like the first issue, you're following around Samaritan, who is essentially the Superman type character in Astro City.
Yeah.
But it's not it starts when he wakes up in the morning, and it ends when he goes back to sleep that night. And he has all of these like things happen, but he's just rattling them off like, well, okay, and then I had to go stop a giant tidal wave from smashing into the whatever, I think it was the Philippines. It doesn't matter. So it's a giant tidal wave from smashing into the coastline, and then there was the cleanup and the shockwave and all of that to deal with. And then on the way back, because he has a secret identity as a fact checker at a newspaper, and on the way back to work, I had to stop some pyramid assassins. And he says it just like that. But the whole episode, the whole issue, he's counting up flight time, because what's important in his mind, yeah, he's doing the superhero thing and he's doing a lot of good and he's helping a lot of people, blah, blah, blah. But that's what he does. That's not what he is focusing on for the purposes of the story. And he's just counting up the amount of seconds that he spends flying the whole day. And at the end, he's like, oh man, he's like 3 minutes. That's the best day in 6 months. And then he goes to sleep and he dreams of flying. And it starts with him dreaming of flying.
Uh-huh.
And that's the first issue. And I'm like, this is not your typical superhero nonsense. And it's so good.
Nope.
Like, I highly recommend Astro City to anybody who wants to read just quality stuff. It's set in the superhero like milieu, I think that's the word, but they're not typical superhero stories. Even the ones that are about the superheroes, they always come at it from a completely different angle. And it's refreshing. And even though these are all old as hell, like I think the first Astro Cities came out in like the mid-90s. I don't know when they ended. I know they took several years off. But like, unlike normal superhero stuff, like characters age. Where's this? What is this? This volume 13, copyright 26. No, that's when it was printed. Copyright. The original issues 2014. Wow, that's newer than I would have expected, actually.
That is a lot newer than I would have expected too.
Yeah.
These things, sometimes we feel like, we grew up with them or they're timeless, and we realize, oh, wait, this was from a decade ago. And that just doesn't seem right.
Maybe at first I thought I was getting things mixed up in my head and thought you were talking about Transmetropolitan or something.
Oh, no, that's not superhero at all.
Okay.
Although that's another thing that I constantly reread. Not constantly anymore, because now it hits a little too close to home. With a fascist in the White House. Oh, that's fiction. But like time passes. Like in the very first, the first miniseries, the first trade paperback from the first ongoing series, you meet Astra, who is the youngest member of the first family, Furst, because that's their last name, and they're like the Fantastic Four equivalent. Mm-hmm. And she's an elementary school age girl, and she wants to learn how to play hopscotch, so she goes on an adventure and runs away from home and joins an elementary school so she can learn how to play hopscotch. And it's just, it's a two-parter, and it's adorable because it's from her perspective on her adventure, but also it keeps cutting to the first family, like tackling some of their like longtime enemies, going, "Where's my daughter?" And it's just one panel of that, and then it cuts back to her, dealing with a bully at a high school, like. But in a much later book from, if this is 2014, probably from like 2012, she just graduated college, and like all of the tabloids follow her around everywhere she goes with little drone cameras that are constantly trying to catch her misbehaving for the tabloids. And I was like, huh. She grew up. That's weird, because you don't see that in comic books. Like, time doesn't pass. Like, Spider-Man has been in his, like, mid-30s for 40 years.
Yeah.
So the original series started publication in 1995. Yeah, thank you, Chifuji. That's what I said, right? The mid-90s? I think that's what I said.
Sounds about right.
So, yeah, it's really good stuff. And that is a thing that I constantly... Like, I'm forever looking to stuff to read while I'm in the bathroom, because I try not to just sit there on my phone in the bathroom. I try to actually read something. And so I'll stand here doing the gotta go dance, staring at my bookshelf going, all right, what do I feel like reading now? Although I have newer stuff I need to read. So once I'm done reading, but I'm reading Astro City's this newer stuff for the first time, so it's new stuff, so shut up. Anyway, all right, what was your question, Brian? You had something.
My question to you, because I know that you have read and probably reread The Sandman, is did you know that season 2, and I guess the final season they're going to do, dropped on Netflix like today or yesterday?
I know it was sometime soon, but I did not know how soon. My excitement for that in the aftermath of all of the Neil Gaiman crap has sort of lessened.
Sure.
Like, I'm still
and understandably
gonna watch it,
so. Yeah.
But
understandably so.
Yeah,
Please,
there
ahead.
hasn't been. Yeah, Ben just said I hadn't heard anything about it. Yeah, there's been no hype because it's got Neil Gaiman's name all over it, and I don't think anybody wants to admit that they're working with him.
Carrie and I were watching a Netflix show. Right now, Sam's not with us; she's off on a project, and a service project. And so we've been, doing things together. Like, oh, hey, we have been doing some of the things with her. We've got a little more time in the evening. Let's do something with us. And we had been watching this Netflix show, Jenny and Georgia, and it's on its 3rd season. And that I'm not going to get into, because in that somebody's on trial for murder, and like the people that wrote the show didn't talk to real lawyers, and if they did, those lawyers should be disbarred, because the crap that they get wrong is like, you might go, oh well, it's fiction or whatever, but like I'm like screaming at the TV, and Carrie's like, you need to turn off your lawyer brain. Anyway, we're watching that, and yesterday an advertisement came up
These people need
for
to turn on an actual brain.
the advertisement came on for Sandman, and I'm like, wait a minute, they were making another season, weren't they? And I waited the whole through the whole trailer for the release date, and it said July 3rd. I'm like, that's tomorrow, which is now today. So I just didn't know if you'd heard. And as
Yeah.
far as the whole, I heard about Neil Gaiman, and we're showing Sam Buffy, and Josh Whedon is not a stellar person, it turns out. But there were a lot of other people that worked on that show, did a really good job with it. So separating the art from the artist, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's been a lesson. But that was where I was going with that. So for me, I mean, there are definitely some things I turn back to. Ever since I was a kid, I've read and reread, and then the great thing about having kids then is rereading with them. The Dark is Rising sequence, which is I think it's 5 books by Susan Cooper. She wrote, I think, in the 70s, and it's awesome. And they made the movie The Dark is Rising, where they tried to condense stuff from one book into a movie, and they did a horrible job with it. And even Susan Cooper was like, this is a piece of crap. And we're like, yeah, and it saddened me because I don't know that they'll ever make anything like that again now. But the Dark is Rising sequence I have read over and over and over again, and then Lord of the Rings I had only read maybe like twice, but then having Sam got to read it again. So good stuff. Video games, I've probably played Final Fantasy 4. I don't know how many times. I probably like 6 more at the end of the day, but 4 was my first one, and 4 is also shorter. Whereas 6, you got a lot more stuff going on. And then movies. I don't rewatch a ton of stuff as an adult, mostly because limited time. But as a kid, the single movie I ever watched the most was, I think we rented Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze one weekend, and we set a record for watching it like 7 times in a row. Think that kind of answers the question.
Next.
Yeah,
You go ahead.
go ahead.
I will come
No,
to
you
both
go
of your houses and kill you.
He will.
I don't know where either of them live. Damn
Doesn't
it.
matter. We'll find them.
All right, Dirk, go.
All right. Well, for me, I'll go with video game. So for me, things that I always keep coming back to is a lot of the um, Bethesda stuff. I've come back to Skyrim multiple times. I've come back to Fallout 4 multiple times. And I recently acquired Oblivion, seeing as it's on the summer sale stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get it. And so I acquired it. So those are often ones that I come back to over and over and over again. All of them are high up on my Steam list in terms of play times and everything. Ones I also come back to a lot of nostalgia games. I think last week I had mentioned all the games that are on my currently downloaded on the computer, and a good chunk of them are just games from back in the 90s or early aughts that were available to play and everything. And so I come back to them and play them occasionally. One that I have come back to several times has been MechWarrior 5 Clans. I've come back and I replayed the whole campaign again, but went with a different ending this time. and then realize, oh, there's a new game plus feature that they must have added since the DLC landed for Ghost Flash. So now I can actually go back and like replay the campaign with all the goodies that I've got and just keep upgrading stuff, where it's going to be like ridiculously powerful. So I'm going to keep it downloaded just so I can go back and do the campaign and fiddle with it more. And I think the other thing is just Final Fantasy games. I did come back and play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Went back and been doing the I want to say New Game Plus is where you can do the chapters, and I just decided I'm not going to do the chapters. I'm just going to replay the whole game. And it gave me the option. Do you want to redo all these side quests and everything? I was like, no, I don't want to do all the side quests again. That took up, I had over 100 hours with the game. Let me see. 144 hours with it, and I was think before I started going back, and it was like 130 something hours I had put into playing the game, doing all the side quests and like the little jobs and everything else. And in doing all that easily probably took up like 70 hours of that, just doing those and running around and this and doing the card game multiple times, trying to do this. I mean, it was forever doing, and I still didn't finish all the side quests. But I decided I was not going to do that, and I was just going to, they're already done. I'm just going to play through the campaign, and it's been a lot of fun going back and being a little OP for the beginning area and just wrecking house, and everything. So that has been a lot of fun going and doing. So that's kind of been my going back and entertaining myself and refreshing my memories and everything. Just a lot of the old games had really great stories, and they had to do it with very little resources. So it feels like you can kind of fill in the blank areas with your own imagination. And all, like Final Fantasy VI, because it's such at that time it felt like it was this big grandiose story, and going back and replaying the pixel remaster, it's like, yeah, the main story is like 12 hours. Like it's nothing, but your imagination is like, oh man, it was just like the tendrils of the empire just spreading out everywhere. And so my imagination kind of took over, and you have a little bit of that nostalgia from back then. So that's video games. Book wise, I think Lord of the Rings has been the one I've come back to a couple of times. I've read it in college, and then I've done the audiobooks since then. So I've come back to it twice, and I think I may have done it a third time somewhere in the mix of it. But I've also done the movies more times than I can count. So I feel like I know a little bit about that. Watched the Rings of Power, and got their perspective on it. I will not go into the whole inaccuracies with the Rings of Power and the main story, because it would be very long and very unproductive. But I do like that they're trying to include a lot of the story beats from the Silmarillion in it. So, but the one thing I do come back to a lot that I'll just read over and over, I'll pull resources from, are all the BattleTech resource books that I have. And I have a lot of those. And I'll just find myself, I'm going to be traveling, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sitting somewhere for a long time. So I'll grab one of those guides. I've been going through the Federated Suns one. And then a little bit earlier yesterday, I pulled out the Liberation of Terra, Volume 1, and I had been going through it. And so was doing that. Right now I've got the era report for the Star League era. So I've got those that I will peruse through, and I won't even read the whole thing. I was just like, let me just flip through here, and I'm just going to start reading through all the stuff, because I've already gone through it probably 3 times throughout some point. And so it's just me perusing through and just reading little sections while I'm killing time and whatnot. And then movie and TV. Like I said, Lord of the Rings, I've watched so many times that I'm sure the DVDs, if they weren't worn out, that they should be at this point. And I've also very much a behind the scenes kind of person. So I watch the behind the scenes stuff more than I did the movies, but just because it has all the this is why we chose this. Here's the story behind this and why we did. So I just love the behind the scenes stuff, and same thing for Star Wars.
The behind the scenes stuff on the Lord of the Rings extended edition DVDs is so good.
Oh yeah, it is in my opinion, it's almost better than the movie, just because you get the lore of why this is here, why we didn't do this, and the struggles they went through in it, and just some of the fun that they had with it, like wholesome fun. I still very much enjoy the story of, we were going to do this, this scene where they were going to be running and the sun was going to be, going down, and so like, well, we're going to camp out so we can get the sun rising in this scene. And it turned into, instead of just like, a handful of people doing it, it ended up being like the whole crew doing this activity. They just camped out and they were fishing and big dinner, and they stayed up and everything. And then that morning they shot the scene. But it was just it was just so funny. Them, it was like, it turned into an incredibly wholesome time, just getting to just be with everybody. But yeah, it's just so funny getting to see all that, and the injuries and all that, and all the stories. In terms of a TV shows, I'm gonna say Babylon 5 has come up a lot. The Star Wars animated shows came up, like Clone Wars and Rebels. I've come back to those occasionally just to watch them. I still very much enjoy the Siege of Mandalore. 4 episodes of Clone Wars is probably hands down one of my favorites. And then the season finale of, I think it's the 3rd season of Rebels, at Malachor. Is just one of my all-time favorites, because it brings Ahsoka full circle with Darth Vader.
That was a really good one.
It's just
I think that was season 2. I think that was season 2.
It might have been season 2, but yeah, it just brings her arc full circle, and it's just so amazing to watch and to see. So there's just stuff like that are the shows that I watch. And like I said, I think at one point we talked about DuckTales. The new DuckTales also would just be like, you know what? I don't want to watch it. I just want to put on something that's funny and silly that I can just put on the background, and DuckTales will be one of the ones I'll put on and everything. So I think that's kind of my movies list. I think Lord of the Rings probably would be up there in terms of movies. I actually don't watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of documentary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So on Netflix, they've got World War II in color, and I've probably watched that at least 4 or 5 times, the whole documentary thing. I think it's like 10 episodes, and that's probably played at least 5 times for me. Just while I'll be doing something, it'll just be on. But yeah, I really enjoy the historical stuff. My preference has always been like ancient history, a little bit of medieval history, and the World Wars. Just the World Wars is just such a weird, wacky period of going from airplanes were, these things that that best thing they could do was, be like, yeah, there's the line, guys, just drop artillery, and they'll be like, you went too far. There you are. You're dropping it right where you're supposed to. All the way up to the dog fights, and then 20 years later, you went from biplanes and triplanes all the way up to metallic planes that are that are moving so fast, and the infancy of jets. It's just such an interesting period of time, and it's recent enough that you can touch the history of it too. Because in North Carolina, the battleship North Carolina is in Wilmington, and it's a World War II ship. Charleston's not that far away. It's got Yorktown, which it's not the World War II one, but it's close enough to that one that it shares a lot of history. So that I think that's been a big thing, is having that history reference. Like I'm a big history person, so. But I think I've rambled on with the questions there, so.
Nerd.
So that goes to Mike.
Nerd.
Yeah, I feel like I would go back to stuff over and over a lot more when I was a kid. Me and my brother watched the Star Wars movies who knows how many times. We watched the Aladdin movies, first 2 Aladdin movies, who knows how many times. I read all the Chronicles of Narnia multiple times. I think I read the Chronicles of Prydain multiple times as well. Not absolutely certain.
What?
Prydain, the one that the Black Cauldron is part of the series.
Oh, okay.
The High King, Taran Wanderer, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
This
don't know
guy
if
knows what's going on.
I don't know if I'm saying Prydain right. It's Welsh inspired, so who knows how it's actually pronounced.
It's probably pronounced Smith.
Smith, yeah, probably.
It's Smith with a Y.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
Smythe.
Oh gosh, we watched the Transformers movie an immense number of times. It's something that we used to rent from the video rental place on weekends. Dad would give us a hard time about it sometimes. You boys always get the same thing. Why don't you try something new? It's like, well, because we like this and we don't have it at home.
Yeah, why don't they make something that matches this quality, and maybe we will.
Yeah.
You have Transformers at home, and insert meme here.
Yeah.
It's a VHS of the GoBots. That's not the same.
Oh man, my brother and I rented a GoBots movie one time, and we fell asleep watching it. It was so freaking boring.
Woof.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, that was more when I was younger. As I got older, it was much rarer for me to sit and watch a movie more than once, or sit and read a book more than once, even if it was separated by years. But something I do still do a lot is I'll go back and listen to something specific again if I'm feeling a certain way, or if I just want to hear it again. There are several albums that I'll go back and listen to, either under specific circumstances or just because. Like there's a Mastodon album called Once More Around the Sun that I just really like to listen to on road trips. Just something about it. It's really good to just, I'm in the car going down the road. It's going to be a few hours. Cue that up. It's great. Other things that I just like to sit and listen to is a Judas Priest album called Screaming for Vengeance that I really like to go back to every once in a while. There's a Boris album called Smile that I just really love. It's really great to hear again and again when I think about it. If I'm really feeling like a lump and I know I'm going to have a lot of time to just either sit down and listen to, or if I'm in the car and I'm going to be in the car for a while, I'll put on a sleep album called Dope Smoker. It's like really long and weird. I think why it's so much easier for me to do that is because it only takes about 45 minutes to an hour to listen to a full album over again. Just because of the nature of how things are recorded and set down. Unless it was originally from like a multiple disc format, it's always going to be in that range, 45 minutes to an hour. Because you can only comfortably, if it was originally put to vinyl, you can only comfortably fit 20-something minutes on each side of a vinyl record. So it's usually not going to be much more than 45 minutes long. And the CD spec, it's standard CD isn't going to be much more than 80 minutes unless they really crammed the data in there. And past a certain point, it starts to get iffy on whether a player can actually read it because the laser grooves are too close together. But yeah, and there are so many things that have something like really distinctive about them, a distinctive feel, a distinctive emotion, a distinctive line of lyric, a distinctive melodic line, where just get to thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to listen to that again. That'd be really good to hear right now. And it's just so easy to just pop it on and go, whether I'm sitting around at home or driving down the road.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. Well, there you go. That's some stuff that we go back to. Thank you for the topic, Chifuji. Want to do another one? Let's do another one.
Yeah,
Let's do another one.
As the drunk guy said that one time at Bowman Gray Stadium, Bowman Gray Stadium is a place where in the summer on Saturday nights they have races. It's a little track that's, how big is Bowman Gray Stadium? Like a half a mile, a quarter mile? I don't know. It's a tiny little track.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin used to go all the time. Like we went all the time. My mom and dad and I when I was a kid. At some point that stopped. And then the boy was a spotter for a driver, so he would be there every week. So every once in a while I'd go hang out with him at the track. And Lex used to go with me. Apparently she still occasionally does, which weirds me out because she is so far from redneck that I can't even imagine. But it was always her idea to go to the races. But anyway, was sitting there one day and this dude who was down closer to the track stood up and yelled back up to someone, "Hey, you want another one?" And I don't know why, but in the moment, it was the funniest thing. And it became a running gag with me and the boy, and whoever was Lex there? I can't remember. Whoever was with me there. "Hey, you want another one?" So that's why that came into my head. Okay, let's pick another one. So that was stuff we go back to. Okay, on a somewhat similar idea, Violet Moon says, "Hey, what about Desert Island books, games, music, etc.?" So, to clarify that for anyone who isn't aware, the question is, if you were stranded on a desert island and you could, but you had a game or a book or whatever, what would it be? This one I have not put any thought into.
I mean, so you can do this a couple different ways, and I've heard people like, what's the one food you would eat for the rest of your life, or whatever. But in
Yeah.
this scenario, you're gonna be stuck on a desert island for you don't know how long, possibly the rest of your life, and you look, and the only thing that washed up to shore with you intact is this one thing, right? And no, it can't be a cell phone to call for help because cheating.
It would be a laptop with my with internet and my Steam account on it, so that I could.
I think you could say that as long as it doesn't help you get off the island, because the whole point
I would
is
send a message saying, "Hey, I'm on this island. Tell them to come look at the islands. This is where we were flying or boating or whatever." And then I could spend the time playing whatever the hell I want because I've got my Steam account.
the problem is he would have sent it to me, and I'd be like, I don't understand this internet speak. Is he saying he's gonna stream something? I don't really love roguelikes. Come on, and I'll delete the message. And like 3 months later, I'll be like, did you guys ever hear from Chewy? Did he ever stream that new game he was talking about?
Something about being on a desert island.
Yeah, something about harvesting coconuts.
What, Link's Awakening? Maybe, I don't know. For me, it would have to, thinking of video games, it would have to be something that I could play a lot without ever getting sick of it. Like,
Yeah.
like insert any given roguelike, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I've got 144 hours in Balatro, and I've just crossed the 50% of getting all of the wins with all of the decks.
For like on that note, so I know we don't always talk about Magic anymore, but the thing that I love about Magic is that it does reinvent itself. So if I can have my phone and it can stay charged, but I can't call anybody, but I can play Arena, I'm probably good. There's other mobile games that I play and enjoy, but I like Magic, and I like the fact that I would probably get the most use out of. And at some point, yes, I'd probably still be like, I hate this and want to bury it in the sand. Thank God they did bannings earlier this week, right, Mike?
Oh
Or
boy.
you don't play a whole lot of standard, but they made some good choices with some cards that shouldn't have been in standard in the first place.
Yeah.
If I am getting away from the obvious answer, and if I have to pick something really like a lot more limited, like, oh, my PlayStation with all my games or whatever. Huh. I will say that I've really enjoyed the creative writing aspect of being a DM with a homebrew content for D&D with these guys for the last lots of years, even though we haven't had a chance to play in a long time. So this is going to sound like such a dumb answer, but if I had a way to write, if I could just, if I had my laptop and I could just do some writing, or even just like a stack of notebooks, I'd probably be okay. There's been some of the best vacations I have had in the last couple of years were when we would go to the Outer Banks or something, and for at least a day or two, I would be like, all right, everybody leave me alone, go do your own thing, and I'd sit and stare out the ocean and get some creative writing done. And that's something where, because I'm kind of writing for myself, that would be the easiest way for me to pass the time, and I think I'd last the longest without feeling like, oh God, I hate this. So
That makes sense.
Take that with a, if you think that conforms with the rules or not. But that's my answer. Dirk?
If we're going with the first literal interpretation of it, I would like to have my toolbox.
No.
Be washed up with my toolbox. So that
cannot
way,
form a raft.
Well, no.
Or-
So that way I could, depending on the island, if there's like not a cave or whatever there are. So I would be able to actually build stuff to make
Oh my god.
the island comfortable for the
This is not a
long-term
question
stay.
about surviving on a desert island. It's a question about if you could only have one of these things, what would it be?
Yeah.
No, I get where you're coming from. That is a good idea, but to
I mean, let him
specifically,
answer the question. He wants his
Well, and
toolbox
that's
so
why
he
I was saying
can
is if we're going
live
with
the
the first
live the
part,
Gilligan's Island life and build a radio out of a coconut and all that stuff.
if we're going with
he'd
the
build
first
he
interpretation, I would say that. But if we're looking at the beyond that, I would say kind of like with Brian, I would like there to be composition notebooks, writing utensil for me to write stuff down, to draw, to doodle, to imagine and create, and that could be whatever books there is. I would probably go lean somewhere in the realm of D&D, but there might be another time where it's like I don't want to do fantasy, I want to do sci-fi, and I might find myself doing that. I would say I don't want to be stuck with a game, because the problem with it, and whenever I do find myself where I'm not being pulled by whatever obligations I've got going on, I find that I can play video games for maybe about 3 to 4 days, and then after that I'm kind of spent. I don't really want to play games anymore. I would rather go and walk. I would rather go and do little jobs around the house. I would rather go clean. I'd rather go fix stuff. So I feel like having composition books and stuff like that, um, making up things could be, I could be tired of that for a little while, but there are other things I could do in the meantime, like record my thoughts and make a journal, stuff like that to pass the time. Whereas I feel like I would love to have my Switch, or if there was somehow magically my desktop could run on a deserted island and I could play games all day. I feel like I would be good for about a week, and then after that be like, I'm kind of done. I don't want to play games, and I'd probably be good for about 2 or 3 weeks before I would come back to it. So like I said, I'd rather have a notebook. I'd rather have composition books, writing utensil, and a D&D guide, or some of my other stuff. Like I said, the BattleTech stuff, or something for me to come up with worlds and scenarios and stuff of that sort. I think that would probably be more what I would want. So do you, Mike?
I don't know if I would have come up with the idea on my own about having something that I could just sit and use to fire up my imagination and basically make a bunch of new content for myself from. That's a really neat idea, what you guys had brought up.
we have those every now and then.
Yeah. Besides that, it's interesting. My mind kind of went to something that's like, okay, if I had an immense amount of time, what would I want to be able to sit down with again? And that made me think of sitting and reading through Akira again, which I did back in high school and college. I think I got the first trade paperback in the series back in high school. I read the first couple ones multiple times because they were really interesting, and that's all I had. I was just having to wait for the others to come out and be available and just find them in bookstores somewhere. But I think I only read the last half of it once. I think there's 6 books in the trade paperback series. And I wanted to go back to it for a long time, but never did. I mean, it's just really long. and but it's really good. And there are a lot of pages and panels that you can just really sit and dwell on and think about, and thumb back through and look at something else that come back. So yeah, I think that'd be really good to have with me if I was gonna be somewhere uninterrupted for a very long time.
Nice. I want to be clear. Apparently, Dirk didn't catch it. My response of my Steam account was a joke.
Really?
Yeah.
But you can't plug it into that palm tree, so
Maybe you can't.
Dirk can with his toolkit. So
Well,
that is how
I
that
was
works,
just saying,
right?
if that was magically, I would find myself, I couldn't do something like that. Just I would get so it would be fun for a week, and then I would be just bored. Be like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather just go and walk the island. I'd rather go like draw maps. I'd rather record the sights and do stuff like that. So
I got you.
Again,
self-improvement would be more in line with what I would want to do.
hey,
with my time.
that's actually our next question. So don't be getting ahead of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the desert, I love how everyone has a different take on this, not a different answer, but they're interpreting the question a completely different way.
It's true.
For like, if I had to pick like a video game, because I'm a video game guy, like I've been playing video games since I was like 7. It is a large portion of who I am. So obviously I'm gonna go with a video game of some sort, but it would have to be something that's like, excuse me, has enough variety to where I can keep coming back to it. Like, think of any game where you see just an ass load of challenge run videos on YouTube, and it would have to be like one of those. Like a sorry, I don't think I mentioned it on the show. It was in the pre-show. I think I pulled an intercostal muscle sneezing a few days ago, and so that hiccup actually felt like I was being stabbed. But anyway, something like a Skyrim, where you can play and you can make a decision to play in a billion different ways, and then end up as a stealth archer every single time. Or, I mean, even something like Baldur's Gate 3, where I've got 74 hours in it, and I'm still only some percentage of the way through Act 1. And there are so many different ways to build your party and build your characters that it doesn't matter. Like, you'll never run out of things to do in Baldur's Gate 3. Or even something like, even though I haven't played them, like Dark Souls, like those games, you can self-impose various limits to where it's almost like playing a completely different game. Or Elden Ring, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, oh hey, and Mike resubbed too. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
But what was that? 63 months. That's almost like 2 years.
At least.
At least. Or, my insert random roguelike here could also work. Like I said, I've got 144 hours in Balatro, and I'm not even halfway done. But that does get kind of samey. Same with Hades and, like Slay the Spire.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of that is because of the RNG. It's going to be harder to do different things because it's always based on whatever RNG feels like giving you. So yeah, but there are a lot of games that are just loaded with content that aren't, grindy and miserable. Thinking of any sort of open world type game where you're just filling out all the crap on the map. Okay, looks all these exclamation points on the map. We got to go clear all those out. That's less fun for me. So I don't really, like a Grand Theft Auto or an Assassin's Creed, the later ones, or any given Ubisoft anything really. Like I don't. That's got a lot of hours in it, but when you're done, you're like, I never want to touch that game again. Whereas the other stuff, like I said, you'll never run out of things to try in Baldur's Gate. You'll eventually run out of things to try in like a Bethesda game, but it's gonna take a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Violet, for that. Let's do another one from Violet. Since Dirk brought up self-improvement. The question was, if you had infinite time and money, what's a skill you would develop? And when this was asked in the Discord, I was sitting at a red light, and it popped up, and I looked down, and I typed out the first horrible thing that popped into my head because I thought it was funny, and it was no hands fapping.
I want to take a second and actually think about this. I think
Please
I've got
do
an
not take a
idea,
second to
but
think about no hands fapping.
Not that. I mean the question.
I then edited my post to strike through that and wrote, sourdough starter.
My first instinct is actually, and maybe this isn't surprising, but I'm kind of surprised that this is my first instinct, because I'm not always great at learning new things. I feel like I'm an old man. I certainly feel older than my age, and I'm kind of set in my ways. But I'm wondering if I would say another language. I never took to other languages very well. When I had to pick a foreign language in high school, I picked Latin. Looking back, I'm not really sure why. I thought maybe because they wouldn't expect me to converse in it, it would be easier, but it wasn't. And now, thinking about it, I'm like, I wish, especially Spanish, I wish I knew how to speak Spanish. I'm aware there are classes for that sort of thing. I don't know that I have the time for that right now. Maybe I need to make the time, but learning another language, especially one that would allow me to do my job better, that would allow me to communicate with other people better, yeah, might go with that. Learning a new language.
Neat.
That would be me. In terms of my self-improvement, if I had all the time, say if with all the money, for me that doesn't make a difference in it. It would just be having the time to do so. Mine would be to be more active. I think
Physically?
yes, to be physically more active, so that like to go on more walks, to go swimming, to probably do. When I say the gym, I would just say not to like. I'm not wanting to bulk up and be like a bodybuilder. Mine would just be uh, to develop, to be more defined with my muscle tone. And to cut down on my weight and everything, and just feel and be healthier. I think that would be the one thing I would do. Diet wise, I think if I was gonna like throw money at something, it would not to like take dieting supplements. I think that's dumb, but it would be to do to go and try out more different foods. I recently have been eating a little more Greek in terms of the diet, and one of the things I really enjoyed was like a gyro and like a Greek salad, like with the olives and all the stuff that goes with a Greek salad.
Hmm.
I had one of those probably about, it was last month during the teacher work days, and that was so good. So I really enjoyed that. Um, I've been like, my son is really into sushi right now, and so I've been eating a little bit of sushi and everything. So I mean, just trying out more foods and trying to um, and like get away from the typical American, cheeseburger and fries and fried food and like meat heavy diet foods. Get away from that, and do more physical activities and exercising. I think is what I would do a lot more of in
Okay.
terms of my self improvement. And like I said, I would love to do, like Brian said, I would love to learn a new language, or at least improve on and expand my vocabulary. But me personally, I would like to be more active, um, and like I said, help define my body a little bit better than, like, by the end of the day I'm so tired from work or haranguing the kids and keeping them active and not burning down the house, that I'm just kind of spent and I'm just not motivated and I'm just more tired than and enough that I don't feel like I can go out and do stuff like that, to improve my body and everything. Like walking the dog in the morning is about as far as I get with it, but I honestly want to be more active if I was given the opportunity. To you, Mike.
I'm kind of curious. It still for your answer. Since we're talking about pie in the sky, infinite time and money, is there a particular sport or activity that you would be interested in getting into and getting good at?
Like for me, I would like to be better at swim, like being able to go underwater,
Mm-hmm.
uh, do do a much better job of being able to like do flip turns under the water, because I've tried to do like go upside down in the water, and my problem is like as soon as I do something like that, um, I feel like the water is going up my nose and I
Uh-huh.
start flailing and everything. So I would have to get away from something like that. I would like to get better at something like that where I'd be able to better control my breathing and be able to do stuff underwater better.
Yeah, cool.
Hmm.
Let's see. For me, I've definitely thought about learning languages a lot. Like there have been so many times like, oh, I wish I knew Spanish just for every day. And, especially now that I uh, have extended family in Colombia, through my new sister-in-law. And there's times when I'm like, oh, I wish I knew French, like for work or something. It's like, or, oh, I wish I knew Chinese to read whatever thing that came up in front of me, some kind of arcane instructions for some things. Like, oh, I wish I knew Arabic so I could talk to family or other family friends. So there's always that. But also, ever since I stopped playing music in high school, I was in I played trumpet in the symphonic band in middle school and then did jazz band in high school. I've wanted to get back into some kind of creative artistic activity. And most often when I think about that, it has something to do with playing music. I don't know if I would try the trumpet again. I might try something like the guitar or drums if I was going to do something new. But that's probably the thing I think about the most when it's just like daydreaming. Oh, I wish I could do such and such. It would be learning another musical instrument, have another creative outlet like that.
Interesting. The music guy wants to play music.
See, I did band in high school, and I played trumpet for a very long time, but I always said I never had that connection with my instrument that a lot of musicians did. So
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I liked it pretty well, but it's not. My favorite time in marching band was absolutely being the drum major, and had nothing to do whatsoever with playing the instrument because to be perfectly frank, I really didn't feel like I played that well. And I can accept that. It's not a skill that I had. So I still have my trumpet downstairs, and Sam tried it out a little bit, but Sam has also never been terribly serious. We got her a keyboard
Mm-hmm.
with all these books to learn how to play, and all she wanted to do was have the keyboard play the pre-programmed songs, and we're like, yeah, okay, okay, because not everybody's gonna be into that. So
Yeah, I've never had any interest in what people would traditionally think of as creating.
Uh-huh.
Like it weirds me out when I think about it. Like I always hated art class and music class. Like even as far back as elementary school, I'd be like, like that is just not a thing. And you don't have a choice back then. It's just look, you got to do this for the next however week or two or however long it is. I don't remember how it worked in my elementary school. So I just have to, grin and bear it. And then in middle school, it got worse because it was like an entire 9-week period or something where they had to go to art class. Oh, just kill me. Luckily, they didn't force us into band, or I would have probably killed someone else. But because it's just nope. Nothing. I've always been more interested in making people laugh. Like I was always getting into trouble for talking in class.
you,
Yeah.
I don't believe you, except the part where I totally believe you.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like right now, the whole time and money thing is getting in the way of, doing what I consider my job, which is the streaming and video creation. And I think honestly, if I would did I ever try stand up? I did stand up for a very long time.
Oh,
very long
I
time.
I went to several sets of Chewies.
Yeah,
Well,
and Mike
maybe
went
not
to damn near
several.
all of them.
I would
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah, I went to a couple.
Mike was my,
there.
not
Mike was
my-
the roadie.
Not my muse. That sounds wrong. Mike was the person when I was done, when we were done and we'd be standing out in the parking lot at the Comedy Zone, I'd be like, I flubbed this line, didn't I? He'd be like, oh yeah, that wasn't, you screwed that up bad. I'm like, all right, I got to work on that. He's like, your whole delivery was just like this tonight. I'm like, I don't know why. I was trying something different. He's like, it didn't work. Okay, thanks, buddy. Like, and you need a person like that to be like, stop it. Do better. Thanks, Mike.
It wasn't like that.
Well, no, but I could count on you to not like, oh yeah, it was good. If it wasn't, is my point.
Well, yeah, because at that point, after having seen so many performances, then it was like, okay, we need to be serious about this. I actually had all the context to be able to say, okay, this, and this.
Exactly. But like I said, right now, like the whole time, I keep having to stop what I'm doing to go DoorDash because I got bills. And as much as I love the content creation, it does not pay enough of the bills anymore. When COVID hit, I lost I want to say over the course of 4 to 6 months, 60% of Patreon. Maybe not quite that much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never fully recovered. Hardly at all. It's been hovering at I'd say 40 to 50% of what it was at its peak, and it just stayed there. But that's also like around the time I stopped. Well, not really, but it also dropped more when we stopped Monday Night Magic. And when I stopped doing YouTube videos, it tapered off some more there. But that's when COVID hit. Like, I totally got it. When Monday Night Magic stopped, I totally got it. Like, everyone that was there for Monday Night Magic was like, "You're not doing it anymore? Well, okay, later." I get it. It's cool. But I like, if I could somehow get all of the different content creation revenue streams up to where I didn't have to dash all the damn time, then I would focus on, making videos. I've got so many ideas. I just don't have the technical know-how. Like right now, I've got I've got a Balatro video that went out to lifeguards on Patreon. Aha. Sorry. Okay. I was like, okay, it's done. What do y'all think? And I got some feedback of, that's because it was the speedrunner achievement, which is you have to win in 12 rounds or less. And usually there's 24 rounds, which means you have to do a lot of skipping. And it's a whole big, I thought it would be a whole big ordeal. I got it on the first try. And I didn't even play optimally. But I've got 144 hours, again, in this game. I didn't know that on the screen, all the time, there's a little counter that tells you how many rounds you've played. So I had a whole counter set up. Every time I hit play, the counter would ding and go up on the screen on the video because, I wanted everyone to know what round I was on. It's on the screen all the time. 144 hours. And I've literally never seen it because it contains information that is completely irrelevant.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're doing the speedrunner achievement. So, the one time I did need it, I didn't look at it because, as far as I'm concerned, that part of the screen is blank. So I'm having to go back and redo that video. I got to redo the voiceover and whatnot, and I hurt my side. And the night that I was gonna redo the voiceover was when it was hurting constantly, so I didn't want to be, doing voiceover and having to go several times. And then I didn't sleep, and now we're doing the show. So, but it's one video, and it's taken me like 2 weeks to get done because there's so much stuff that I have to do and then redo, and then life keeps getting in the way, and then I hurt myself, and then I gotta go dash. And yeah, I would, if I didn't have to worry about time and money, I would learn how to do all of this video editing stuff in proper software. I've gone back to, it used to be called Vegas. What's it called now? Movie Studio. I think I've somehow managed to fix the constant crashing, which is why I stopped making YouTube videos in the first place.
Oh, uh-huh.
I finally got annoyed and just did a search for this version of Movie Studio constantly crashing, and they were like, "Oh, go in and do this and this and this, and that should fix it." And it has only crashed on me once since then, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" I could have done. But yeah, I really want to learn how to use DaVinci Resolve, which I don't know if that's good for YouTube videos. Like, it's a professional level video editing software. Like The Lord of the Rings was edited in DaVinci Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
A much earlier version of it, but, they made a big deal about the, Dirk, you'll remember this, the going in and color grading individual scenes. Dirk's muted. But yeah, that was done in DaVinci Resolve.
No, I agreed.
Oh, okay. and they offer it for free. It's a super, like, scaled down version, but not for my purposes. The expensive thing is all of the, like, the professional level stuff that I have no need for anyway. So if you want the super professional side of things, you got to pay out the nose for it. But if you don't, it's free. And I was like, what? And way back when I first stopped with the YouTube videos, which it turns out was like almost 3 years ago, about 2.5, I opened it up to try to figure out how to do it. And it is moving from one video editing software to a different one is like trying to learn, like if you've spent your whole life speaking English and like a classical language, it's like trying to learn Japanese. Like, it's not the same thing. Nothing is the same. Nothing works the way you think it does. So I got super frustrated and pushed it aside and was like, okay, I'll come back to this. And 2.5 years later, and I haven't. And every time I try to, I end up, having to stop and go dash. And, it's been a light week, so now I gotta dash, at lunch every day this week, which leaves me no time to do anything. And I know it's not like, an 8 to 5 job, but it's hard to get into a nice, good groove. Wake up, eat breakfast, come in here to work. Oh,
Yeah.
gotta go dash. Okay, come back. Right. Get down to it. I've only got, 2.5, 3 hours before I gotta go dash again. And once I get right in the groove, my alarm goes off. And I'm like, gotta go dash again. And then I gotta eat. And then I gotta stream. And then it's bedtime. I'm like, although I don't go to bed. But that's when usually in the middle of the night after streaming is when I'll do my relaxing time. Or sometimes that's when I dive into the working on stuff and sit back here until I look at the clock. And, oh my God, it says 3. I should probably go to sleep. Crap.
Right.
So, like with the first draft of the Blatcher video, I completely forgot how long rendering takes and then how long uploading takes. And once it was done uploading and went to processing in YouTube, I posted it to Patreon and went the hell to bed. Woke up the next morning to a message. The video shows as private because I forgot it doesn't turn into unlisted until you publish it. Like until you submit the draft, and the draft was still being processed. So, but it was 3 o'clock, and I'm like, I've got to sleep. So yeah, I would learn new video editing software and then figure out how to do all these things in a shorter way. There's got to be a better way to do a bunch of the stuff that I do. I just don't know what it is. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would learn to do my job better. Chifuji said video editing with good software is like night and day versus consumer stuff. Ow! Oh, really? Ow. I did not know that. But like a bunch of YouTubers and whatnot use, well, what's the Adobe one? Premiere? But I refuse to give Adobe money. And all of their stuff works on a subscription service now, so I don't even know if you can pirate it. Let me know if you can. I'll give it a shot. But like, it annoyed me that for years I had a pirated copy of Vegas that worked just fine, and then a newer version was part of a Humble Software bundle, and I went, oh sweet, and bought it. And it kept crashing like crazy, but I couldn't find my cracked version of Vegas to go back to. And I don't know how to find stuff like that anymore. I used to. Yeah, F Adobe's modern practices. You are correct. Adobe has become one of the worst. That's why I use GIMP instead of Photoshop. Because GIMP costs no dollars, and that's how many dollars I have to spare. So yeah. Wait, was that all of us?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so.
Nice.
Mhm.
So let's learn how to fap with no hands. I mean,
Moral of the story today.
sourdough. That was the big thing during the pandemic was sourdough.
That was really weird.
It
Yeah,
was
everybody-
all of a sudden like my Facebook feed was full of people. Here's my first sourdough loaf. I'm like, what?
Why?
I mean,
So
sourdough
you can
is
still order bread. You can still buy that.
sourdough is still the superior bread, though. It's sourdough pretzels and sourdough loaves are my favorite, so I get it. Hey, people needed something to do that wasn't, go out and lick people's hands.
It was so weird for me. I know we talked about this at no end at the time, but it's so weird for me how like my day-to-day life when, the pandemic hit and lockdowns all happened did not change. Cuz I was already alone all the time and I would leave the house to go DoorDash, which was, it suddenly turned into one of the most important jobs that was that existed somehow. And it also weirds me out how even though my day-to-day didn't change, it did horrible things to my mental health that I'm fairly certain I'm still avoiding dealing with. But anyway, super family-friendly episode? Yeah. What are you talking about?
Is that all the episodes?
Yeah, we're super family-friendly here. Don't hate brown people or trans people.
It's true.
Don't get in the white van with no windows, even if they have candy or a puppy. But yeah. What else we got? Should we stop there? Just wind it
Why
down.
don't we? Yeah, why don't we stop there? That's. I think it's been a good conversation so far, but
Mhm.
I'm okay to call it here. I've got to do some last minute work. I'm hoping to not have to do any work tomorrow since it's a holiday, but I've got to get caught up on some stuff. So
It's a
I'm okay to stop
Oh yeah,
here.
tomorrow's the 4th, isn't it?
Yes.
Hmm.
Somehow.
Well, for anyone
I'm
listening
okay
to
to
this in the
stop here
future,
if
I hope
everyone else is.
Shut up. For anyone
What?
listening to this in the future, I hope you had a good 4th of July. If you're in the States, then it was a holiday, and if not, it was a Friday. So,
Not a Tuesday.
it was a Friday. So, what were you saying, Brian, when I was trying to talk and you were still just rambling?
Oh no, I'm just that I thought it was a good place to stop. If everybody else did, I didn't mean to make the decision for everybody.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, we're good.
All right. Well, thank you for your ideas. For any of you listening who like, oh, I've got a thing, go to the Manapool channel in the Discord. It's the Manapool Discord, but there's a Manapool channel under content for the podcast. Drop any suggestions you might have there. I will add them to our list here. Like I said, most of these ideas that we were given are good for stuff like this, short form things to fill some space. One of them we're totally going to turn into a full ass episode though at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to go back through our group text conversation and try to dig out as many old ideas that we've had in the past, like we've had us dorks. Because here's a little peek behind the curtain. Here's how the show works. On some day, I go, hey dorks, we good to go this week? What do we want to talk about? Brian, usually, sometimes, will respond that day with at least one idea. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Dirk will say,
That's accurate.
whatever you guys want to do. And Mike won't respond. And I'm not just saying that because that's what happened this week. That's just an average week. And
are
the problem
consistent.
is, if we don't do that idea that Brian came up with, whether it was good or bad or whatever, we all forget about it immediately and it never gets brought up again. And this is true for any suggestion that anyone has that we don't do. So I'm going to make a Google Doc of all of our ideas so that instead of going, I don't know, what do you guys want? I don't know. We can just consult the freaking list and go, oh, that sounds good this week. Yes. And sometime in the future, those Final Fantasy Commander decks, maybe. I don't know, man. Like, the more I think about that, the more I realize we can't do them all in one episode. And so we're going to have to spread it out.
If we do them, it'll be split up, yeah.
Yeah, if we do them,
Probably
it'll have
one
to be...
commander per episode.
Hopefully,
Mostly because we would be busy, nerding out
hopefully we
on
could
the
do
characters.
two and only do 2 episodes, but...
No. Well, I highly doubt we're going to do the 14 deck. If we do, just be like, this is what it does.
I mean, unless I can get someone on, we'll get Infinius to join us or something, although his ass is on the other side of the universe, so that might be hard. But somebody who plays 14, who knows 14, could come on and help us with that. Just saying. The problem is I don't know anybody other than Infinius who is deep into 14, so...
Mm-hmm.
But that's another thing with time and money, not being infinite. We only have so many episodes left to do. Do we really want to spend 2 or maybe 4 of them on Final Fantasy Commander decks that are $8,000 a piece?
And I'm gonna just say to that, I don't get me wrong, I do agree with Chewy, but if this is something that you do want us to do, let us know,
let us know.
that we don't have to guess. Like, if you're like, yes, I've been waiting for you guys to do this for forever, dear Lord, come on, then let us know. We're not saying we're not going to do it. We're just going to say we're not sure.
Yeah, it is up in the air at the moment. Also, this is a thing I'm constantly having to remind people. We thrive on feedback. Like, tell us things. If we did something you liked, be like, hey, that was a good idea. Do that. I do more of that. If we did something you didn't like, be like, hey, that sucked. Don't do that. We need feedback so we know what you guys are thinking. Because as much as we do this for us, mostly we do it for you. Otherwise, we would do like we just did last week, which was we all hopped on the call, ready to do the show. Something came up, can't do the show. We all just sat here and talked for, I don't know, like an hour and a half. It was glorious. We didn't have a topic. We just shot the breeze.
We're very good at that.
Yeah. So yeah, we can do that without you, and we did last week. I think it was good for us. But by all means, if you have feedback, drop it in the Discord or in the comments on YouTube, or send us an email, something. BlueSky, Instagram, not Twitter. I've abandoned Twitter. That place is full of bots and Nazis and botsies, so don't do that. But anywhere else, let me know. But okay then. I guess we should stop then. So, do you have any sort of, you know what? No, you don't.
No, I have no final thoughts.
You don't get to do final thoughts yet, because I had to make an actual end screen for a YouTube video, which is how I know how long it's been since I did a YouTube video, because the last save on my project for the end screen was October of 22. I went, oh, have I been stopped that long? Oh my god. But yeah, I had to make an end screen. I'd forgotten my process for making end screens, because I did the image and dropped it in my video project and was like, all right, where's the music? I've got to have the music here somewhere, and I couldn't find the music. And I realized that's because I'm not looking for the music. I was looking for a video, because I always did them as a separate video and would drop that in the into my video project. And I was like, oh, Whoops. But anyway, let me thank our mythic lifeguards at patreon.com/themanapool in, I don't know, this order. Oh, for God's sake. All right, we'll do that last. So let me thank Al, Team You Hellas Haru, Scuzzo, Michael, whoever that is, Andrew Odie, Jason Kaus, don't trust that guy, Casey, Jake Jansons, Jason Doan, absolutely don't trust that guy, Kim Ho and ALK Alters, and Mike, who is the person that wrote the cookbook?
Asmer and Martikadistina Koldakar.
How do you do that?
Dude, it was, she was a character in a short story in a book that I had, and it was so difficult. And I'd also seen it in the flavor text on Granite Gargoyle. I was like, I gotta figure out how to say this. So I sat and stared at it and tried it over and over again for who knows how long. And then I permanently damaged my brain such that I can't forget how to say it.
So
Well,
essentially, you're saying sheer determination and stubbornness.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna stare at this as you say it. Say it slightly slower.
Asmarana Martikadistina Koldakar.
Asmarana
Duh.
Martikadistina Koldakar. Hey, that is totally what the name says. So yeah, I don't know if Violet did that on purpose just to mess with me. I asked. I don't remember what the response was. I think the response was, "Oh, I forgot it would change it everywhere." But yeah, that's the name now. So I'm gonna have to get Mike to help me out on that every week.
All right.
until I get it. Of course, by then Violet will change it back or change it to something else. So yeah. So anyway, if you're on Patreon, go check out the Balatro video. It's actually sort of a primer for how Balatro works, because I realized my audience might never have played it and have no idea what I was doing. So there's a lot of voiceover explaining things. Not like in super detail, but just so you know what's going on. So I'll have the second version of that up in another day or so, I hope. Might be up by now if you're listening to this later. Make an audio button or something like the bro button. Oh, I could. Where is the bro button? Uh-oh. Where's the bro? Oh, here it is. I could get Mike to say it into this. Well,
Can it record that long of a clip?
I actually have no idea how long this thing will go for. It's not that long when you say it. It takes forever when I say it.
Oh, well.
But all right then. So now that we got through all the Patreon stuff, hey, final thoughts, dorks.
I got none. Happy 4th. Happy 4th to everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah. I know that sounds super generic. Happy to be talking to these guys, even if we didn't do a super serial guys episode.
Hopefully we'll the country will survive to see another one.
And just a reminder, obviously I'm not going to discuss anything like how do I say this? I will be available for next week, but not the 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
So, you guys have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and go do a thing.
Oh, I see how it is.
Woot.
Yes.
All right, who's next?
Well, for my final thought, I actually got to enjoy playing some Commander last night. A bunch of the guys from church were like, "Hey, let's all get together," and so we got together at one of the members' house, and we played one game of Commander, 4 people.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and we started at 7 o'clock. We didn't finish until about 10:30, 11.
Mm-hmm.
no plane chase. It was just straight up commander. I played the Kyranos deck, which is the red blue god from Theros, and that was a lot of fun playing that deck. So
I'm glad you still have that deck. That deck's awesome.
it is a lot of fun, and it's actually when I went to the pre-release, I pulled a Vivi in my prize packs, and
Ooh.
Vivi went right into that deck.
Nice.
Because
great.
Vivi is awesome, and Vivi is awesome when it's like, hey, I'm gonna start throwing some spells around, which is what that deck does. So, but like I said, that was a lot of fun. A lot of that's the one thing I've always enjoyed playing Magic is when you have a good group of people to play with. Even if you don't win, you still ended up enjoying playing the game purely because of the silliness, the jokes, the camaraderie, and all that. That and whether it's just a generic 60 card. I'm not gonna buy anything expensive from them. I'm just gonna build a deck from the random stuff that I've got, and just play a game of Magic with that. That's perfectly fine. The whole goal for me nowadays is just to enjoy playing and have fun. So, and like I said, that was a lot of fun. So to you, Mike.
All right. Let's see. I guess also thinking about playing Magic. I built a new. It's too bad Brian isn't here. I ended up building a new brawl deck, standard brawl deck on Arena, built around Diamond Weapon, because I wanted to see how like stupid and all in I could go with it. If you don't know it off the top of your head, Diamond Weapon cost 7 and green, but costs 1 less for each permanent card that's in your graveyard, and it's an 8/8 artifact creature that you prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to it. So I was able to put together from the standard card pool a mono green brawl deck that is all permanents and has a bunch of like mill yourself stuff. It turns out there's a lot of green mill yourself get a land back cards in standard right now, and there was even another one printed in Final Fantasy who's basically a Satyr Wayfinder who has a little bonus if you find a town, which is awesome. And yeah, it's so fun and silly to play that deck sometimes, because sometimes it just runs away with the game, and other times it runs into an opponent that has a deck that can just deal with an 8/8 that costs 2 every turn, because it doesn't really have any other special defenses, just that combat damage one. And being an artifact is a liability quite a bit of the time. It's been Diamond Weapon has been suplexed a lot, like a whole lot. And when it happens, I'm just like, okay, yeah, you got me. You suplex Diamond Weapon. Good job.
You can just see Sabin running at him, picking him up and suplexing, and Diamond just being like, just Sabin lifting Diamond's leg and just Diamond tapping out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's fun.
Nice.
All right, send us home, Chewy.
Okay, fine. Go home. I got nothing. I've been the streams have been bouncing back and forth between Balatro and Baldur's Gate. I'm climbing the stakes with all of the decks in Balatro. I finally, in one stream, okay, so in one stream a few days ago, I spent 3 hours. People who have played this will understand. I spent 3 hours trying to get a win with the black deck on the black stake. The black deck is widely regarded as the hardest deck to win with, because you have an extra joker slot, which is cool, but you have one less hand to play every round, which means you have less chances to, get enough points to win. But that also means you get less money because of the way the interest works. It's based on, well, it's not interest, but you get more money based on your remaining hands. So if you win on the first hand with the black deck, you're getting $1 less than you are with literally every other deck. And that adds up over the course of a game, especially at the very beginning, where the money is the most important. So I spent a full stream trying to get that win. Couldn't. Full stream, 3 hours, 0 wins. So I did get to the final boss once. It was the extra large blind. I forget what it's called, the Violet Vessel or something. Did not get close to winning. And went, The next stream, I decided not to mess with the black deck. And I got 3 wins with 3 other decks on black deck. I found the last voucher I was missing to get the achievement for finding all the vouchers. I got the last legendary joker that I was missing. It was per KO for anyone that cares. To get the achievement for completely finishing my collection, because that was literally all that was left after I found the voucher, was just per KO. And the legendary jokers you can only get from, there's 5 of them, and you can only get them from a card from the spectral packs, which means you've got a 1 in 5 chance of getting any given one. And earlier in the night, I got a legendary, and I was like, oh, maybe it'll be per KO, and it was not. It was York, which is good because that helped me win. But like, I really wanted it. And what's really funny is that was the last thing I did, was I unlocked per KO, and then I lost the run, and I went, don't care, got the achievement. So it was the second stream was way better. But yeah, I've got the speedrunner video that once I rework it and finish, I got to re-record the voiceover and then fit those bits in. Well, re-record bits of the voiceover and fit those in, and then I'm gonna re-upload that to Patreon so everyone can see and give me feedback. But after that, there's another run where I got a first shop holographic stuntman. And again, if you don't play Bellatrix, you're like, what? That single joker carried me through the whole run. Because the way Bellatrix works is you take your chips, and you get chips from playing cards, and each poker hand gives you an amount of chips and mult. But you take your chips times your multiplier or your mult, and that's your points for each hand. And so the stuntman starts you with 250 chips. You just get 250 chips for every hand you play from him. But you get -2 hand size. So it's really hard to play, flushes and straights and any 5-card hand. But because he gives so many chips, and because he was holographic, which means he automatically adds 10 mult by himself, I was just playing high card the whole run. And it was a lot of fun, and I was actually explaining what was going on because Scott was in the chat, and he doesn't, I don't think he Bellatrix, but he was like, so wait, what does that mean? So I was explaining things. So it's a really good run to put up because I was explaining what I was doing, so I don't have to record a separate voiceover. And it was just a lot of fun. So yeah, that'll be my next project once I get the first one done. But yeah, anyway, it's the stuntman hard carry. Because you need like 300 points on the first one, the first round. You need 450 on the second one. You need 600 on the third one. But he was giving me 2,500 by himself Like, and as you add other jokers and more point scoring and upgrade your poker hands and whatnot, like he was just hard carrying the whole run, and it was a lot of fun. So yay! And if you haven't played Balatro, you should probably play Balatro. It's so much fun. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Shut up. It's even on mobile. You can play it on your phone. You play it on your phone. Ah! Okay, sorry. But yeah, for Baldur's Gate, I've been in the Underdark for the last 3 streams straight. I have not left the Underdark. I did not realize there was so much Underdark in this game. There's a lot. Like, my streams are between 3 and 4 hours. I have not left the Underdark in 3 streams. My last stream, I was like, okay, we're going to go in here. We're going to kill some stuff. We're going to do some story stuff. And then I found a wizard tower, an underground wizard tower. I don't know how that works, but we found it. And we're going to go back over there, and we're going to see what's up with that. And no, we're not, because I'm still, that first place I was in is massive. I didn't realize it was massive. Dear God, I spent the whole stream there. What was that? And then Scuzzo resubbed for 79 months.
Awesome.
He said it's dark down under the Underdark. Shut up, Scuzzo. Oh, I wanted to tell Brian about that. So there was a place where my party couldn't get to, but I could because I'm a druid, so I turned into a bird and flew over there. And I was just wandering around by myself, separated from the party, looting the joint. Just running around. Oh, look at this. Oh, here's some stuff. Oh, okay, cool. What's over here? Oh. Yeah. And I found a key, and I went, I bet that opens that door. That's good. I'm getting sick of having the lockpick. Oh, hi, sweetie. Renee's just standing here looking at me dressed like a panda. But I opened the door, and all of a sudden I was in combat because there were 3 hellboars and a Mike, some sort of thing from one of the hells. It wears a mask. Maragon? Tarragon?
I don't know.
You're the D&D guy. You're supposed to know this crap.
Well, I don't know a bunch of other supplemental stuff, especially more recent supplemental stuff.
Yeah, Maragon. Merregon. But yeah, there was that and 3 hellboars there, and I'm there by myself, haven't saved in so long because I've just been wandering around for the last 40 minutes looting. It was terrifying. I led them on a merry chase and killed off all of the hellboars. And I got the Maragon dude with the mask down to 7. And then he knocked me off of the narrow walkway we were on, way down, and I landed and died. And I was trying to figure out, okay, I can get my party there, right? And he just started shooting crossbow bolts at me until I died. And I went... and I reloaded. And because I knew they were there, I put some water on the ground in front of the door. And then when they all ran up, because the hellboars, it looked like if they dashed, they could just make it to the water. So they all ran up to the water, and I cast Call Lightning. And I only hit the one guy, unfortunately. But then I ran away, and they were all wet and ran up at me. And they were all grouped together. So I went, Call Lightning again, and they all turned into ash piles. And I went, what? Because it was a merry chase the first time. I ran away, throw something or shoot an arrow or something, and then run away. Mm-hmm. And then they would come after me, and I'd shoot them and run away and shoot them and run away. And yeah, I just annihilated them all. And I went, Jesus Christ. It's terrifying how powerful you can be when you do it right. So I was very proud of me for soloing this surprise party of whatever these things are. There was no indication. just opened a door and it was like combat. I was like, with what? Oh Jesus, what? But anyway. That's just the last thing that happened on the last stream, and so buh. So yeah, come hang out on the stream. I stream on twitch.tv/themanapool. That's where this is done live on Thursdays as well. So come hang out. And yeah, we should go now because Brian left like an hour ago. So this has been episode 728 of the Mailbag. Thanks again to, let's see, Chifuji. I deleted them off the list. Whoops. It's Chifuji and Violet Moon. We only did 3, right?
I think.
Yeah, I think so. And if I... We'll thank Ben, too, because it might have been one of his. I don't remember. So... But yeah, appreciate everybody coming to hang out. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And I don't have a thing. Oh, don't get stranded on a desert island. There we go. That works.